Every era starts with a new beginning, but to make a new dawn, first you must break down what came before. The apes are no different. It's time for conquest of the planet of the apes. Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another film review. And today's film review is Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. So, following on from the events of last film, we find out that Cornelius and Zira have a child. This child happens to be named Caesar. Caesar is part of a grand prophecy of the apes. But at this point in time, he does not know this. All he knows is that he has been told by the person at the zoo that he mustn't speak. He mustn't let anyone know that he can speak, because if he does, then the world will finally realise that Caesar is part of the prophecy that Zira and Cornelius mentioned. The man at the zoo that had been looking after Caesar essentially tries to take him off in hopes that he'll be sold off to a nice family that will treat him very well. But upon taking him to the facility, after he screams at one of the guards beating an ape, it turns out that the humans start to get suspicious. They start to realise that there is a spy in their camp. Caesar is then imprisoned with a bunch of other apes, but the main difference being none of the other apes can speak. Caesar takes this as a note that maybe he might struggle to be able to get any of them on his side. But after numerous tortures and numerous times being treated like an animal, Caesar finally says no more, and he manages to get as many apes on his side. Watching the mistreatment of a lot of them, he starts to encourage them to join his cause, pointing out that under his rule, they will no longer be treated as slaves. So the Great Ape Rebellion begins, and just as Caesar is told that he should have mercy on the humans, he calls out to them and says the one word that has been passed down from generation and generation of apes. He says no. He says no more to being treated like a slave by the human beings. At first, he begins to have a long night of chaos and riots against the human beings. But then, after defeating them and taking over the city, he points out to his fellow brothers and sisters of ape that they should not become the monsters that the humans were before them. They should become better. And they should build their society in a way that incorporates the human race in a roundabout way that they can coexist rather than having to leave and live in bloodshed. The film ends with a giant gaze of fire, and we watch as Caesar's face lights up as he watches the dawn of a new age. So what did I think of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes? Well, as this is the original title that is very similar to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, its parallels between the two movies is very interesting. I like that Caesar spends the whole film trying to hide the fact that he can talk in this version compared to the other version. But I also like the idea that Caesar is essentially watching how the apes are being treated and starting to remember why his parents were so afraid for him, why they wanted to hide him away, save him from the torture of a world that he was never supposed to be a part of. I also like how Caesar has mercy at the end of this film. It could have very easily gone the opposite way. They could have had a riot and he could have just massacred everyone. But the fact that Caesar rises above it when someone talks to him, when someone talks of oppression to him, someone who themselves has been oppressed, it really speaks through to Caesar, and I feel like that's what makes this film so strong. And for that reason, I give Conquest of the Planet of the Apes a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next film review.